Welcome to Folk It. We are welcoming MF, Professor Mark Finlayson today, and we're going to have a great talk about all things AI. You're quite the expert in that regards. And we are both in Florida, so you can see the backgrounds. Um, I don't have my palm tree outside, but that's because it's so hot I would melt. How you doing, Mark?
Not so bad. It's pretty hot here in Miami too, actually.
Yeah, I bet. The humidity is what gets you. You wake up in the morning, I walk outside and I've got fog on my glasses.
Exactly. Everything's so aggressively air conditioned.
Yep. So we've worked together in the past, and I
Mhm.
know a little bit about some of the things you're interested in, but why don't you tell everybody else?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Mark Finlayson. I'm a associate professor of computer science at Florida International University. We are a public research university down here in Miami. And my expertise is in artificial intelligence and natural language processing. I received my PhD from MIT in 2012 in AI and cognitive science. And I study persuasive language use. So, with a particular interest in narrative. So, understanding how people deploy stories to convince other people to do things. I have a lot of other interests as well, but I think that that's the one of the larger topics that's of interest to this particular discussion. So, as you know, we've worked together through some of the MITRE auspices through Department of Defense funding.
Yep. And we can go any direction you want. So the Folk It podcast, we believe in Folk It. So if we want if we want to take some sidetrack away. This topic though is it's fascinating and timely.
Yeah.
I've I've in my downtime started a little blog and
Oh, you've been busy.
yeah, I started a little blog. I started some other social media accounts. I've been playing around with different modalities for, the the ideas, folk it, the whole concept. And the blog, I come back to AI all the time.
Mm,
And I don't mean like when I say AI, it's kind of one of those fuzzy definition problems where
right.
I mean in the popular sense with the press. We're talking about like generative AI primarily,
Yeah.
text, language, and video generative. So I don't like it. I particularly find myself falling on there's not much good, um, not much good capability in the
Mm.
generative AI, like, and not in like the quality of the output, but in things that it does that are good, that are helpful. Um, but there is something that it's really, really good at, and it's just making up fake stuff that looks that looks like it might be a person.
And
So
it's even better at it when someone asks it to make up fake stuff, right?
interesting. Yeah, no, tell me more about that, actually.
Well, so I think what we're seeing now is, there's a lot of things being said out on social media every day, all day, and a lot of our adversaries, our geopolitical adversaries, are using generative AI to create narratives that they put up on these platforms, and those narratives are intended to sow doubt and confusion, and basically sap Americans' understanding of the world and our will to resist coercion by our adversaries. And so, it's this effective social media when you have one or maybe 10 lone guys over there in Moscow typing away, creating material by hand. But those 10 guys can act like 1,000 guys if they have generative AI. And we're seeing that more and more. These generative AI driven disinformation campaigns, or what would be called influence operations, really. Because I know that the term disinformation is a bit controversial because who determines what's true and what's false. But In fact, a lot of these influence operations specifically take advantage of, they're just making stuff up, and so they know it's not true, and then, they're looking for an audience who's willing to accept that as a potentially true.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
I tend to think of this whole information environment. Like I've been trying to in my downtime here, as a free person, um, I've been trying to like frame it under an umbrella, right? Um,
Yeah.
and like it's sometimes helpful to take a step back and kind of reframe what you're thinking about or studying. And so to me, the information environment, for myself, just as a person, and I think about it sometimes as a parent too, like
Uh,
I have a brain and information is coming into my brain. And part of that is just I exist in this world and I've got eyes and ears and senses and I'm taking in real information, that's physical, that's surrounding me. And then another part is this, online environment, this world that, we tap into. That's, in the past, I've sort of thought of that as humanity's digital archive, right? The
mm,
internet, kind of the storage, humanity's knowledge store.
mm,
And it also comes into my brain. So if I'm trying to protect my brain, like I want the best information I can get. Like there are streams of information in real life that I avoid, in like the physical world. Like I'm not gonna take this information as, good. And then online the same way, and then share that with other people, be skeptical of different, information streams that you get, especially around social media.
yeah,
Verify your sources. AI to me makes this harder. And I mean
absolutely.
that generative AI problem again, because it is so realistic. And the accounts that I see online, um, that are driven by, it looks to me like they're entirely driven by artificially generated content.
Hmm.
They're still good. And it's hard. It's hard work. Kind of, you have to know it exists, look for it, and then be able to
Yeah,
vet it.
yeah,
So finding this umbrella to where it's like, I think we should have the best information streams we can in this world that's, the water has been muddied and the
yeah.
streams are poisoned.
Yeah, well, I mean, the advice I would give, if you're looking to consume high quality information is first recommendation is try not to get your news from social media,
Right.
uh, which I know is almost like screaming in the face of the tide, right? Because something like, what's the statistic? 80% of Americans get most of their news or some large fraction of their news
Yeah.
from social media. And, it is a lot of work to sort out truth from falsehood or something that's suspicious from something that's more trustworthy. I'm not suggesting that, there's everything falls into one bucket or not, or the truth or falsehood. There's often a spectrum. Things can be more or less correct and so forth. But it's a lot of work, which is why, historically we have paid people, news organizations, to do that work for us, right? So they do the hard work of checking the sources, and they know the standards, and they can follow up the leads, and they have the money to go fly to Afghanistan and Iraq or whatever, send a person, put them in boots on the ground, right? Whereas an individual doesn't have those resources. And if you can just make it up and put it out there on social media through generative AI, then it's very hard to distinguish now. Now, I think a nice compromise between just reading, legacy or sort of mainstream media publications like newspapers that are well respected and have the resources of places like Washington Post or I'm sorry, Washington Post, yes, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, but also, CNN, uh, also like The Economist, news magazines like that. Besides looking at those, I think a nice compromise is they actually have a lot of social media content themselves that they put out. So those organizations apply high standards to their social media output as well. So that's like kind of the next best thing. Okay, if you have to get your news from social media, get it from a well-vetted newspaper, not Breitbart or whatever.
Yeah.
Or what's the one that they're talking about starting? What's it called? The Action News Network or something
Oh
like this.
yeah, yeah. It's really tough because the names are usually, they're starting to blur together.
Right, right. Sounds like a
Far,
Russian front, right? The way it's
yeah,
named.
yeah, that's what it sounds like. So I totally agree with you on the trusted news sources, social media. I think that stat does sound like the most recent number I'd heard is like 80% of people consume news on social media.
Yeah. I mean, don't quote us on that number if you're watching this podcast, but it is a very high number,
Yeah.
and I think it's increasing. I mean, I think there's ways to get sort of informed about the world through social media that are not as pernicious, right? So it's one thing to come across a post that is purporting to be or pretending to be a report or claiming to be a report about the real world, right? It's essentially masquerading as a news report. So unless you trust the distributor of that post, then you really can't be sure. So that's one thing. But then, another way is one of the great, I think, one of the great uses of social media, or one of the great things that it sort of opened up is human creativity and the humor that people display. And that's actually also a way of getting news, right? But without, people are making fun and ridiculing and so forth, and the great tradition of free speech. And so you can actually learn a lot about what people think are going on, right? Without committing to, okay, that's a report about a particular world. And if enough people are talking about it, then you know that, okay, it's something that's out there kind of in the ether. Because oftentimes some random thing will come across your feed and you'll never see that again. You won't even be able to find it again. And it'll just almost be a one-off, right? So, that kind of weight of statistical evidence is another thing I think one can take advantage of.
Yeah, it
If you're
reminds
filtering for things that look like news and you're only concentrating on sort of humor and stories from people that you know, or think, lifestyle or fashion or food or something like this, travel.
Yeah,
That I think really the more appropriate use of social media.
I agree. I have a fitness page. I started it on Instagram 3 years ago. I turned
Yeah, do
50.
you have a page about how to grow your hair back? Is this
No, I
no?
wish.
We're still working on that.
I'm
Okay.
still,
Tell me it as soon as you figure that out, though.
there's a lot of bad information out there on how to do this.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's one of the reasons, yeah, like the whole propaganda, bad information stream starts with how to grow your hair.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but no, I started a little
And they
fitness.
know that we're bald guys, right? They
Oh
know
yeah,
it. Somewhere in Instagram and Facebook's innards, like we're listed as like middle-aged white
check.
bald
Right.
men.
100%. Like I get every ad known to man for razors and hair growth cream. And advertisers are able to sell us, hair grow cream. The people who wanted to divide us as a strategy could use that information with a large language model to generate messaging.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we saw in that NBC article that just came out a couple of days ago.
Oh, yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. That sounded interesting, but I didn't have time to take a look at it.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. And I don't know if I have all the details right, but it sounded from my reading, it was Clemson University
Hmm.
um, working with a private company. I forget the name, Alethea, or similar to that. It was like that. And they were supporting NBC News journalists. They were
Hmm.
tracking accounts, I believe it was on X, that
Hmm.
were generating comments. Like their suspicion was these 400 odd accounts were generating comments that were almost entirely pro current president.
Hmm.
Occasionally they would get messed up and they would say something pro, like a reporter from MSNBC.
Hmm.
But when this latest controversy dropped around Epstein, the bots that were generating comments were disagreeing with each other. Yeah. So they were off. They were there.
This
I
is the
think,
zombie internet, right?
yeah. They were internet was now alive and debating each other about this content around the story. So in this NBC story, they had these 400-ish accounts they were tracking. They thought there were likely more, and they were supposed to be automatically generating comments pro current
Do they
president.
know where the accounts are coming from? Who's ultimately behind them?
I did not see any attribution of the accounts, but it was fascinating to me because I'm imagining they have a profile, just like advertisers have a profile on us, and they were using that profile as context for their LLM.
Hmm.
And then I'm assuming there were stories that they were
Oh,
replying to. They were reply guys. I can go in to a news story and reply at the
oh
beginning of
yeah.
the reply thread and say something witty or drop a meme in, or, if you're at the top, everybody sees what you did and you get a lot more interactions,
Right,
engagements,
right.
and you just put your advertising in and your witty comment where you're sarcastic or biting or
Mm-hmm.
angry or whatever the case may be. You trigger this emotion in your reply. So I think that's what the NBC accounts were. They were replying, and in that case you would have the context of the story, so maybe like a little first paragraph of a story plus your persona information,
Hmm.
and then generate the comments. But it went wild, like you said, when this Epstein story broke, the apparently they were disagreeing with one another.
Uh-huh.
So something
And
in
did they have an explanation as to why it bifurcated in that way?
I did not see that. It would be really interesting to figure out.
Yeah, I mean, this is also part of the problem with generative AI, and it extends beyond social media. That a lot of the stuff you're finding online now is AI generated, right? So it used to be, you said, okay, show me the best. I want to find the best, I don't know, screwdriver that I can buy, right? I want or whatever. So give me a range of screwdrivers, and I'm looking for a mid-range screwdriver, and so you'd find like reviews by people or maybe some website that was written by a screwdriver expert, and it was, if you found the right source, it was reliable. But now it's like the first 10 pages of Google are just filled with auto-generated AI garbage.
Yeah, I've had to stop using Google. I mean, because of that, like I just use DuckDuckGo. Like it takes me so long to get to Google results. Here's another funny story. While we're chatting, so I've been looking for jobs,
Yeah.
and I took a couple of side gigs. One was it was a startup AI company. They wanted people who were experts in topics to create questions that had never been seen before,
Mm,
for their evaluation metrics, I guess.
okay.
So that was one, and then another one was like Amazon Mechanical Turk, and it was coding. So they people were submitting original questions, and then you were
Uh-huh.
supposed to test and evaluate how well Amazon's LLM did with the
Mm,
code it generated.
mm.
So that kept me busy for a little while, and it also kind of like for the output, it was not good enough as like a professional coder for a long time.
Right, right.
I was like, this tool is interesting, but but it's not something that I need. So I got to learn a couple of new languages. In the interim, though, like my name got spread around, and I started getting these other requests to do reviews, and like as part of this
Reviews of,
Mechanical Turk, reviews of products on Amazon.
oh yeah, uh-huh, uh-huh.
And it was Amazon, and then Temu was another one. They were
Oh yeah.
both looking to do real people um um reviews for the
But
product.
they would send you the product to review, or you were just supposed to make
Yes.
something.
Yeah, you were
Oh, they
supposed to make something up for the product, and they would have a list of the products, and you would go in and you would rate it, and then
wouldn't, having never used the product before.
have right, right, right. Having never used the product before, and I was fascinated, of course, because this is
Yeah.
like my job. And so I just started pulling the thread. I didn't actually sign up, but I found people who were trying to recruit me into this job, and that
Right,
would
right,
just tell me more and more. So the AI systems that were in place, and this is not generative, I'm guessing this is some type of classification, some attempt to classify reviews as whether
mm,
they're automated, and as well as, like CAPTCHAs and authentication methods.
right.
They were trying to catch automatically any type of Gen AI review. So now
Mm.
they wanted people to get paid per review to beat the capture system that was in place. So I felt like, hold on, I'm
Come
being,
full circle.
yeah, right. I'm kind of the human being being paid to trick
Yeah,
this review, but they're still asking me to completely make up what,
right. It's still fraud, right?
yeah,
It's
it's still
still
completely
fraudulent.
made up and fraudulent review.
Right.
But was that CDO?
Another reason why I don't even use it, I try not to use Amazon anymore. Same thing. Like there used to be same timeline as with social media, right? When it started, there's a lot of high quality stuff there. Like you could connect with your friends. Everybody was so excited when Facebook came in. Oh my God, I'm reconnecting with all these people I haven't talked to in forever, and yada
Right.
yada yada. And now it's just a cesspool, right? Amazon was the same way. It used to be like, wow, I can find stuff on Amazon that like I can't get in my local community and I can order it and it comes to my door. And for the books, it was just incredible. Like you could find any used book you wanted, right? And it was such a novel thing. And now it's gone exactly the opposite way, where it's just this junk-filled Chinese bazaar, right? It's like all of it's coming from China. Half of it's like was it used to be an American product, but was like stolen by the Chinese, and now they're just mass producing it themselves and not even bothering to apologize for it. And then they sell directly on Amazon, and there's Bezos, drinking his, champagne on the yacht.
Really, really big yacht.
It's really,
Yeah.
really big yacht.